Alright, last series for this stream. We have Purity and Industry for this TvP. In the 3 o'clock position, it is Hurricane. In the 12 o'clock position, we have Dream. Having some trouble against the MCAN man. Only 2-1ing him recently, so a couple of macro games, sounds like. I do think that MCANning style is best used against Terran to get some unexpected victories. Disruptors is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Disruptors. Disruptors, I think, have more of a place in TvP than they do in PvZ, rather. While they can be used versus Zerg, just the ability for Zerg to get us around, like eventually you have to move out as the Protoss. And their ability to get us around is too difficult to use Disruptors. It's happened. It's been part of the meta, but it's pretty difficult. Whereas for Terran, even against someone who is like, you know, pretty much just supposed to be generally better than you are, as good as MCANning is at this game, Dream's supposed to be a lot better. Disruptor plays, I think, just wacky enough to work. Zerg can get a mass amount of units and take one good hit to the face, maybe. Terrans take one good hit to the face in the early game. It can snowball. I don't know. That's always been my opinion, but doesn't mean that MCANning gets upset too often. I would still say that getting a map off of Dream is really cool. But on to a more typical TvP, probably. I didn't watch the MCANning games. Maybe it was straight up macro, charge out, you know, Blink, Archon stuff, but Hurricane, probably going to do some not Disruptor stuff. Might still go for Robotech in one of these games, but Purity and Industry being the game #1. Map, it's always interesting. I don't really like this map. It confuses me, it scares me. But I like watching games on it and seeing how the respective players tackle it, especially each race. Had a Chronoed Adept into a Twilight Council here as the Reaper gets a scout on that. Is the headset good? It is. I like it. Thank you, Todd Math. Freedom never sleeps. Yeah. Trying to dodge out this Adept is not really going to work out. There's not a whole lot of spaces for the Reaper to jump down on this map. So it's going to try and get one more probe. Maybe additional scouts. Ooh. No. No. Sorry, Reaper. Almost, though. But the additional scout in the Twilight Council is actually kind of good. The Reaper just wanted to try and survive. It was trying its best, man, to survive or get a probe. The better things to kill once you've gotten a scout. But, like, continuing to scout the Twilight Council can sometimes give you a hint. I mean, if they don't start Blink immediately, that's a little bit suspicious. Like, you do have enough to start it pretty much immediately. There could be a proxy somewhere. Maybe it hasn't started any upgrade whatsoever. But anyways. Anywho. It is typical. Now the next question is it a 3-gate addition? Or just a single gateway addition? It's only, so far only one. Whoops-a-days, eh? That wasn't supposed to happen. Dream paying attention to maybe a scouting Hellion as opposed to back at home. So the Adept gets through, kills 1 SCV, maybe 2, delay the barracks. That is annoying. And it even manages to escape. Nicely done by Hurricane. Nice information gather there. It's a typical TvP build here from the Terran, but still nice information to have. Wouldn't mind drop into 3 barracks. Also, no tech lab on the starport means no Raven, most likely. It's a really nice scout. Hurricane did go for the 2 gateways. We've seen a decent amount of 4 gateways total. Give some of the Europeans trouble in the that bracket. Not so for the Koreans. 2 gateways is enough to build. Barely last second split there. 2 gateways is enough to build a decent army to defend some early pushes, but Hurricane knows it's not going to be that early of a push. Blink did finish up, so the medevac went down over here. It's what we heard. Hellion distracts a little bit, tries to get a couple Hellion probe kills, but not too much there. 6 probes dead. Wouldn't mind doing a bit more than they should have for the Reaper or the Hellion, something along those lines. Another one of mine drop. That's not usually what you have happen. It's actually really weird. I would not expect that. It's just like, I'm double checking because I can hardly believe it. A second medevac? What? But yeah, one probe was microed away, so not a big deal. Just it's another one of those. But it survives, and it is another medevac available. So what does that mean back at home? Usually you would swap the starport to a reactor immediately after building the medevac, unless you're getting a Raven. I guess immediately is a bit of a stretch, but pretty quickly. Instead you stop and get another medevac. It might have... I don't think it really delayed very much. Maybe it delayed the factory a bit, but... Sometimes you see a Liberator instead as a follow-up, or just simply no follow-up with the starport, but... This was supposed to do a bit more, maybe a bit more of a surprise. Hurricane was paying attention. He wasn't distracted by very much else. He's now getting his gateway count to a better number. To warp in all these charge lots, but are going to have their upgrades as well. The follow-up here for the Terran can be sometimes dicey if you have the upgrades or not, but I think he will. I feel like Hurricane's in a really nice position. Dream's adding tanks to this push, however, and that can get difficult. Anchors a push, provides complexity, especially if it finds one of these like abusive situations. But Purity of the Industry is such a weird map because you have just a force fieldable entrance here, and even if they go through here, or say over here and take an even longer way around. That's some scouting going down. Oh, not anymore. No more scouting for you. But yeah, even if they get through this ramp, you're still going into this force fieldable area, this force fieldable area. If they have enough force fields and enough charge lots, it's going to be a bit tough. I think that medevac's lining up for another drop. It is indeed. Missile systems. Is that what you're supposed to put the missile turrets? Is that what it's trying to say? Observer in the middle of the map sees the push incoming. I mean, he knows the push was incoming, but always nice to know exactly where it's coming in through. One soccer goes down to miss micro. Hurricane's trying to get prepared for this push. The problem with the force field is that while you can hold on, eventually they will start pushing through. And if you're better off with a concave, you're better off with a concave. That's actually exactly what Hurricane wants. He tears down the rocks to get this concave. Has so many units, and Dream just completely surrounded. Is not too so hot in the front lines. A drop in the main base, however, did manage to grab, I want to say 10 probes at least. He goes down to 47 workers. Natural, not a big threat there, as the drop really wasn't serious about going there. Just wanted to try and survive some way, somehow. And Hurricane holds on pretty well, but that drop in the main actually really helped. Otherwise, that push was a bit of a disaster. Yeah. We are on totally 2 base production. Might see an SCV pool, 5 racks, 2 tucked into the corner. So I say eventually we see, oh, there it is. Hey, look at that. Oh, look at that. Gotta see an SCV pool when you're stuck on 2 bases. Just all in here. 2 base versus Protoss. Still pretty popular thing to do. Hurricane took some economic damage, but he did have a very convincing hold on that first push. Can he do it again? He would love to have bought more time against this push, have more zealots prepared, but he's trying to catch some of the reinforcements with the zealots. Stalker's actually on this side of the map. Robo's going to go down before producing another immortal. Force field to try and hold on, not catching too much, but keeping them away from the army. Sentry's looking awfully low in that energy. No second Guardian shield heal here. Very important. But zealots coming in from the left side are going to be even more important, perhaps, taking the tank fire away from the juicier sentries and stalkers. Tanks go down, probes go down on the right side, but this is so all in for Dream that Hurricane could afford to do that if it meant that he actually took the main engagement, but I don't know if he can. A Guardian Shield would be so helpful right now. His 2-2 upgrades would be so helpful, but they're only halfway done. The problem here is not his minerals and his gas, but rather just simply his production. His Dream stims on top of this army, and Hurricane is forced to tap out. Ooh, I actually thought that Hurricane was going to be able to handle that, but he needed just another warping of zealots. He needed more time. He needed Guardian Shield. Could have been so helpful. The amount of probe damage should not be dismissed. I thought it was the amount that was still okay for Hurricane to lose, the 17 probes. I thought he was still okay to build enough army, but apparently not. I think it more has to do with just him not being able to fit in another round of zealots. Like 8 zealots with the main army before it dies, obviously. And again, a guardian shield as opposed to those extra force fields trying to block out the army. Like that, those two things, and I really think he holds. Because he also had a nice round. But couldn't spend his money fast enough. Couldn't get the army fast enough. Maybe because of the probe losses. Game number 2. We are on Eternal Empire. In the top right, we have Hurricane. Bottom left, it is Dream. Kind of sneaking that last game out of from under Hurricane. Pure to Industry can be such a weird map. I also wonder if it was really wiser for Hurricane to break down those rocks. Like, Dream would have eventually done it, and with his follow-up push, it would have happened pretty quickly, but I feel like he could have been able to defend that push even without the rocks down. He might have had to have waited for another warp in. Might have had to do some more complex blinking, but if he had those rocks for the second push, the SEV pull, he buys those extra 10 seconds. Yeah. Definitely saw both sides to it. You know, the perk of the big concave on those units did really work out. It just sucks he lost a bunch of probes in the main base. Yeah, let's follow the gas geyser. Why not? No proxies here. Tasia doing nothing but proxies versus Protoss and the GSL. They have actually not made that much of a comeback. I think Tasia might just be uncomfortable in the matchup. 1 Arc expand from Dream, 1 Gateway expand from Hurricane. Eternal Empire can lead to very long TvPs. Not if Dream's gonna SCV pull again, of course, but I'm gonna guess he doesn't do that this game. Just a guess. My question is, does he add that second medevac? It did end up getting a couple extra probes, I believe. Not too many. It was mostly the drop in the main with the Marines, but still. Hurricane is gonna slap down the Twilight Council. See some robo openers for the Protoss. And they're pretty good. They're pretty good. Hurricane doesn't want to do it. Get him, Adept. Get him. I love the micro battles here. So unnecessary. To the pros, though, every probe counts, man. Every distraction counts. The Reaper does need to get to the main base to see if it's a Twilight Council, Stargate, or Robo. All viable options. Ring around the rosy. Stalkers also coming forward. Gonna block out the Reaper ledge. So Dream is getting less and less likely to actually scout that the Twilight Council attack. Now he could just set up defensively against a Stargate, as that's like probably the worst case scenario. It's the fastest worst case scenario, I guess. You know, as an Oracle flying in without you paying attention. There's other scenarios that also like to be scouted, like a 4-gate. Or a Robo pumping out a War Prism type thing. But when the Stargate option is checked off as not being possible, he's actually not even caring. He doesn't even care. He's figuring that it's a Twilight Council. Sending that Wood of Mine forward like that's actually really, really weird. Not just because he might be up against an Oracle, which would be killing SCVs right now, but because you just don't do that usually ever. You wait for the medevac drop. Very curious. 2 gateways once again with the Robo. Adept gonna get some distraction in the main base, natural rather, and then not quite make it to the main base. Rather gets shaded off to the 3rd base, where she will die. These Widow Mines, though. What the hell? 1 medevac drop. So Widow Mine going to try and sneak its way to the third base? There won't be any probes there. 1 Widow Mine's going to be very snipeable. Yep, that's what he's trying to do. I mean, it's clever. It's a different way to do things. So you don't just have the typical stalkers pushing back both attempts at harassment, but this doesn't do anything, so... okay, alright, whatever. Dream is going into 2 barracks. He is adding on a Raven this time, which is pretty important, as actually Hurricane goes for the Twilight Council Blink Opener, goes for double forge? No, single forge. Okay, but yeah, he's going quicker into the robotics bay. So, I mean, the Raven is useful no matter what. Its costs, you know, can definitely be weighed against its usefulness for a lot of different scenarios, but it's anti-armor missile, very helpful, versus stalkers and charge lots especially. It's interference matrix, very helpful against Colossus, and that's more so what we're talking about here. But I think you're actually going to find... I personally would be more happy to find the Colossus and my ability interference matrix than my anti-armor missile, which sometimes feels like it helps them more than me, you know? Like it's a little bit of splashback, and you're like, cool. Cool. Terran's a cool race. We kill each other. So this is an important switch up. Dream did go for a 3rd CC very quickly as well. So his Stim combat shield timing that we saw last game, not actually going to be hit here. Raven going to help deal with the Observer, but the Observer already did its job. I already saw the timings of a lot of different things, 3rd CC included. It does die thanks to that auto turret, but it's all Gucci. Dream will not have a devastating push, even with an interference matrix against the robo play of Hurricane, as they both are doing straight up macro. Charge being chronoed out as well. He's got the robotics bay, but he's actually, I guess, with the scout, I guess, seeing that it is a 3rd CC and no urgency to defend anything quite yet. He's going to hold off on building Colossus or Disruptors and go for a 2nd robo. Pump out that Warp Prism. There's the Colossus, alright. And fully saturate his 3rd base. I don't know. Was this an opportunity for Dream's 2 base push to do more damage? With Hurricane setup? Maybe. But his 3rd CC setup, I feel like is giving Hurricane a lot of flexibility. I'm trying to say, like, maybe the 2 base push doesn't work that well, and it's actually better he didn't do it. You know, it's all the same, ultimately, and being the 3rd CC faster is probably better. Or maybe it is, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. Maybe it was better, maybe it wasn't. 3rd CC is his choice, however, and the game will go on to a later stage just by default, just by how much they've invested into economy. I just feel like I like Hurricane's position better. Dream is going to have quite the power-up move, of course. Double upgrades, Ghost and double Vikings as he sees fit. But Hurricane, already fully saturated, has been fully saturated, goes into a single Colossus, is going to bother getting Extanthermal Lance, but then goes into a lot of Disruptor production, which I think is the right call. Dream could definitely afford quadruple Starport Viking production, but he's actually not even doing that. He gets a couple of Vikings at a time, so I think he feels it as a robo in play. There's actually been very little scouting from Dream. Like, I mean, enough to see if he's about to be pushed, but otherwise very little scouting. Vikings used to ward away the Warp Prism, but still building them? Really just getting to a perfect army, I guess, but instead of seeing Colossus and immediately going, oh shit, and building 2 Starports and quadruple Vikings, he's just slowly building a Viking count, I guess. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, because it's not really Colossus, it's about the Disruptors. Hurricane goes for a 4th base. Dream also with a 4th base on the way. Pretty close together in timing. Means that we're going to also get into Liberators. I think we have to get into Liberators. It's, you know, Hurricane's going to be able to get to... He's already at 5 Disruptors. He could get to 7 before anything actually happens in this game. You get to 10, probably, before anything happens in this game. And if you get to that many Disruptors, like, I think you just need Liberators. It's a difficult game without him. It's a lot of splitting, a lot of hopes of concaves and surrounds. I think Hurricane's getting a little bit itchy. He wants to do something. He could have gotten it with the 2nd Forge, man. He's going to have to be behind an upgrade with how passive this game has been. Both of them at equal supply. Pretty close on the workers and army. Upgrades are about to finish here for Dream. +1 ship weapons finishing up first up against the Colossus. The Vikings are coming forward, but Disruptor's looking for those big hits. Left one doesn't do so hot, right one a little bit better. Grabs the tank. Disruptor on the front, not going to do any damage. Raven comes from behind. I don't know where that was tucked away, but gets an anti-armor missile. Disruptor shots really weren't that impressive. Most of them whiffed. One of them died. Not much to be done there. Dream had at least a little advance notice the army was coming, so he could prepare to micro. Second starport is on the way. A couple more Vikings, but he really doesn't need too many of them. Hurricane grabbing a 5th base already. Good blink away from the single Widow Mine shot. Ooh, big surround coming through. Big surround from Dream as he realizes he could maybe get something done, but going down a ramp against Disruptors is always difficult, even with a surround. The right side not pairing up with the left side as much as Dream was hoping for, I think. Good pick up there to save him from that Disruptor. EMP is starting to go on top of the Protoss army. Colossus does fall with a limited number of Vikings, but that was awkward for both sides. I like Dream's idea a lot, but he really couldn't execute a full surround. So not as deadly as it should have been, and actually taking the worst trade so far. This game really hasn't had a lot of action. 2-2 helps against most of the army, but certainly not against Disruptors, so the upgrade difference maybe not that important. Disruptors starting to get really good shots. Either they're getting army or getting SCVs. Either way, the Planetary getting dangerously close to dying. Not enough SCVs to repair it. The blink forward aggressively grabs it alongside 13 SCVs. Dream, this defensive play. I always wonder if I'm just like projecting as a Terran player, you know, when I say that a passive game like this favors the Protoss. Because, you know, the old Protoss gets better in the late game thing is a stereotype. It's sort of true, but it's not nearly that simple. But I do feel like Dream was going to be in a difficult position, even if he had split a little bit better against these Disruptors. Even if he had... I don't know, actually, because I'm just thinking, like, the only thing he could have done better is splitting, because I wanted to see him go Liberators, okay? I'm not saying Terran's, like, what can he even do better, man? Terran's not doing anything wrong. No, I think he should have gone Liberators. And if he had Liberators helping him in these chokes, 2 here, I think it's a big difference. But instead he was on Bio Vikings, and now he doesn't have enough Vikings to go for the Colossus. Hurricane, seeing the lack of Viking production, is really smart. And he's just struggling to get a foothold because he's just constantly losing packs of army. He's going to try and set up a surround again, but... it's so difficult. War Prism is going to get taken out. Vikings trying to come in from a different angle. Might grab a Colossus if they're lucky. This is a big stalker count. Hurricane sees the army on the backside. He's going to actually chase after it. Definitely the appropriate call. Now he's facing half the army of Dream with the full might of his Protoss army. Colossus are in an awkward spot. Vikings get a couple more shots than they should have before being targeted down. Upgrades have evened up, but 3-3 on the way. Faster here for Hurricane, or 3-1-1. 3-2-1, rather. Shields, okay. I'm trying to say shields are on the way. Dream's 3-3 is like 20 seconds off. But it's so much about these Disruptors and his inability to get a big enough concave. Now, this might change up here. This actually could be a good opportunity for him, but the Ghost without energy, I think it was looking for an EMP. Doesn't find anything. This one also without energy, doesn't find very much. Hurricane has also been, while all of this aggression has been happening, he's just continuing to expand. The 5th base is up and running. 6th base is on the way, and Dream still isn't... he's not getting a 4th base. He's not having any Liberators. The only thing he has going for him is that his upgrades are about to finish, but they're actually pretty equal upgrades. And on top of that, he can't deal with the Colossus too well or the Disruptors. That is a good concave on the lower side of the ramp. True. His medevacs are starting to run out of juice as he always has to stim to split. He's always stimming. He's trying to force Hurricane into an awkward position, but Hurricane was able to match the army movement so far. Dream now making a very difficult choice. He could go for a big surround, or he could try and run into the 4th base, but he might lose the army doing so. He's gonna just go home now. Probably the better call. I like that better than trying to sacrifice like 30 army supply to kill a Nexus. Hurricane has been at least pushed off. You know, Dream finally made Hurricane do something other than just bully him all day. but it still feels very difficult. This is not a fourth. This is his main lifted. I think he's kind of hoping that it won't be scouted, so it won't be harassed, but it's definitely scouted. And it is super easy to send a couple of zealots over there. Dream now splitting up his army. So few medevacs to work with. Jeez. Does go for the fourth base as he loses his own fourth base. Dream's main army coming back to defend against that, so it actually might be a base killed for Hurricane. And a couple of probes, too, while he saves his orbital. Actually looks to be going well for Dream. He will lose this army, but he's also trying to hit this fifth base at the same time. The Zealots are being cleaned up by a handful of units. Dream, with his army movement, finally getting rewarded for it. Is going to be cleaned up there, but can he take a good fight over here? Hurricane's army a bit disjointed. Those robo units looking a little bit more vulnerable, but here comes the rest of the army on the right side. Archon's joining the fray. Disruptor's starting to shoot out their balls. Looking for the good hits. Not going to find too much. Hurricane needs to collect himself together. Unless they get fully surrounded. That's always awkward. Medevac's coming back. Not so much. Sorry, Medevacs. You don't get to go home. Army supplies end up getting quite equal. Okay, another warping just happened. Just kidding. Oh my god. So many Archons. That is not equal anymore. There are 5 ghosts on the way, which is the perfect response to that many Archons, but unfortunately, going to be losing the orbital command. Good recall as well, with about a quarter of the army against that attempted run-by. Well, that was weird. Did anyone else see that? I mean, GG Hurricane, he does win the game, but, like, did anyone else's, like, tint just change in Starcraft? Was that just me? That was weird. The Midnight released a new song? Scarlet Armani's probably already started. Like, I can't even join into it, even if I wanted to. Whoops-a-daisy. There we go. Top left of Nightshade, we have Hurricane. And in the bottom right, as the Terran, we have Dream. So that last game kind of went like I expected. Dream did a good job trying to mix things up. Because if he had just continued defending, it would have been a slow and painful death. It still ended up being a slow and painful death, but at least with a bit more hope, you know? Like, instead of just dying on the deserted island, you try to build a ship. You eventually die anyways because your ship is made out of logs and you don't know how to build a ship, but still, you tried. But yeah, this just didn't feel like a very good game for the Terran. Like, I really don't want to paint it as if you go for a fast third, you're going to die versus pros, because that's definitely not true. The third CC as a build was actually quite popular, I want to say, in Katowice. And you know, definitely shows up still often enough. It's just that particular map, with the fact that Hurricane was doing what he did. Like, this was not Dream getting a third CC against someone going for a very dedicated attack with 9 gateways and no forges, and he was able to defend and, you know, reap the rewards of his 3 CC, or against someone who was prepping for the attack of the 2 base, you know, stem combat shields, and went, oh no, he's not attacking me, I need to macro. Like, Hurricane was also macroing and, like, you know, skipping a couple of steps and getting to robo play faster while getting a third Nexus, and not actually dedicating to building 20 Zealots plus 20 Stalkers. He got the Scout almost immediately, like, not as fast as possible, but still pretty fast, so that his third Nexus is already being saturated, and him already going into double robo worked out really well, and he just went, oh, okay, definitely, I will get a 4th Nexus now. That is definitely how I want to play this game. It just felt more like Dream was playing into Hurricane's game than the other way around, you know? Not necessarily about the matchup, just that's how the build orders were chosen, how the setups were. That doesn't mean that Dream is screwed because he didn't get the gotcha moment or something like that, but especially with his, I don't know, refusal to make Liberators. It just felt like such a tough position. It used to be like, okay, it used to be that Protoss players, as soon as you got Liberators as a Terran on a map like Eternal Empire, you got Liberators, you got like 6 or 7 of them, a pretty decent number, you defended all your chokes. Like, it used to be that Protoss players went, oh my god, I can't break this, let me go into Stargate, and it would slow them down, would allow you to move out in the map, and we'd have classic stall tactics to try and hold the Liberators at bay. But nicely placed bunkers. It's not going to do too much unless it just goes in the main base. Alright then, okay, so that's what's going to happen. Alright then. I don't know how that happened. Very confused how that happened. I guess he was microing his Reaper. Which does come back to deal with the Zealot. Please lift the supply depot. What the heck? Okay, the soccer decides not to chase after it anyways. Which is very awkward, but... maybe that time the supply depot was a bait. Maybe that time it was. Anyways, what I was trying to say is that even with Liberators, the Protoss have gotten very good at actually going, you know what, I'm just going to outposition you. I'm gonna dip to the left, dip to the right, dip to the left, dip to the right. You know, blink forward very appropriately when I can snipe a Liberator, do a Warp Prism in the main base. Like, they've really gotten really good at taking advantage of a defensive Terran. But I still feel like Liberators are your best chance. Like, it still ended up happening. Dream still ended up being the defensive Terran against a Protoss player who was all over him, constantly pushing in, constantly finding the weaknesses and forcing him to stim and actually depleting an energy resource, which is usually not what you have to worry about when you're set up defensively, but in that game he did. It's just like, why not Liberators? There's usually a reason, though. Okay, before I'm just like, Dream played it wrong and he's stupid. There's usually a reason. You don't see those Liberators included, but gosh, I feel like they would have been better. Oh well. Eternal Empire not playing out as I expected, because so many of those TvPs do go to like 20 minutes, usually with Liberators involved, and opportunities for the Terran player to get good concaves, which Dream tried, he just was unable to do it. What did my drop? Almost got more than it deserved. Heck, even getting a stalker would have been more than it deserved. It ends up getting the probes, just 2 of them. Nice scouting done by the medevac drop, though. Sees the 3rd Nexus, sees the robo play once again. Very fast robotics, but even faster than last game, right? Because he didn't even get blink first. Yeah, definitely faster. Alright then, so Dream gets a nice scout. He is not going for the 3cc build this time, so we will have a decent stim combat shields push timing with those tanks. No Raven this time either, though, so no interference matrix or anti-armor missile, which did not end up playing a big part in that last game. Observer's going to see this, see the intent. I think right now might be concerned that it could be a 2-base all-in, just like that first game with a similar setup, but then the 3rd CC is down. The Observer does not see that. It's a little awkward. Because I think that would be running through your head. You played that first game, you were literally there. So Hurricane would be... he would know Dream has the potential to do an SCV pool. Perhaps the timings of these 2 barracks actually tell him he's okay. He's A-okay. Anyways, Hurricane goes for Colossus. Actually, like, going Colossus this time instead of kind of doing a switcheroo. Blink will be done. 2 Colossus will be out for this push, and this is exactly what you want to do, guys. Like, again, Protoss have gotten better at defending a lot of different things. In general, Starcraft players are always getting better. A lot of times when this first would happen, you'd see the Colossus player just, like, wait back at home and be like, please don't attack me. That'd be nice if you didn't attack me. Please don't do it. And Terran would go, no, I'm attacking you. Best thing you can do is attack them first. Honestly, like, this is actually going better than I thought it would. He grabs a tank? Are you serious? This is so much better than it should be going. More often, the Protoss player pushes so that the tanks have the siege. It buys you 10 extra seconds, maybe 20 extra seconds if you do it twice, right? You get a handful of units killed too, maybe before combat shields are finished, for instance. The Marines die to the fiery flames of the Colossus, and you just buy yourself a nice little hold. But getting a tank, that's actually pretty good. Now, it might backfire here. The main base compromised significantly as lots of gateways were depowered. The Robo's still pumping away on a 4th Colossus. No, that's a 3rd Colossus. 2nd Colossus went to main to help out. Means it's not here for the main push. But you know what? There's actually a decent amount of units helping that Colossus. Guardian Shield. Funnily enough, those sentries kind of dicked over those Stalkers. That was a little weird. The force fields ended up making the blink a little less effective, so... A couple Stalkers lose their lives, but the point is he does push that back. 2 Colossus now available to deal with a single drop, which does barely manage to escape there. How many probes did Hurricane lose in that? 17. Really not bad there for Dream, who got away with the drop too. That is all that one drop. So while Hurricane grabbed the tank, being as offensive as he was, I guess Dream had that medevac set up and was able to take advantage of it. Hurricane gonna go and meet in the middle of the map again. Now this is getting more and more dangerous for the Protoss to do. The more Marauders join the fray, the more upgrades get involved, the more you're out in the middle of the map, potentially surrounded. Like this is not gonna hold up to a huge surround, but if you can find the Terran defensive, then you can bully them, yeah. Which is currently happening. You can't overstay his welcome though. War prisms here. Vikings aren't plentiful yet. But Dream does have a solid army supply. He's working off a better economy, at least temporarily. It's about to be interrupted. Hurricane has stopped building probes as he continues to dedicate to this push. Good snipe on the Vikings. He wants those Colossus alive. Has a couple of force fields too, so even with the SCV full, looking scary there. He went up the ramp. And Dream knew he could not chase. Lots of positioning here. Lots of difficult decisions from both players. If Dream had quadruple Viking production, there we go, he can barely afford it, then he would be faster set up to deal with this, but Hurricane with this push, with the Warp Prism, is doing a really excellent job bullying back Dream with the technological advancement. He does have the potential to be concaved on, to potentially be surrounded, but it's not happening yet. And he always seems to have enough force fields here. It's always stopped Dream from chasing after him. Nice positioning from Hurricane, and this time there's no drop to interrupt this, so he goes back into building probes, going to saturate this 3rd base, perhaps even grab a 4th behind all this pressure. Dream did manage to save most of his SCVs, but that was quite a significant time delayed mining, so he's struggling to build everything at once. He wants to get that Viking count up. He still needs to worry about this. Disruptor is available. Oh my god, the Disruptor shots! Not going to happen. He's still saving it. The Viking count a little bit scary. Did get a Colossus down very, very low. He actually is kind of chasing here. With Disruptors, the chasing... Where the Force will stop the chase previously, now the Disruptor is going to stop the chase as well, much as it can. Yeah, nicely done. On both sides, honestly. Like, either side could have made a huge mistake there. And been maybe game over, but Dream holds his 3rd CC. Hurricane... got a bit of revenge for all the SCVs that were, or probes rather, that were killed in the early game. He did not manage to squeeze in a 4th base while doing that pressure. It looks like he was trying to set up for one and might still go for it, but first he has to deal with his own being pushed on his side of the map. Disruptor looking for a good shot. Doesn't really find too much. And those Vikings, man, the Viking count actually really disturbing. 1 Colossus finally went down. 2 more still pretty alive. Shield battery went down, I believe, at that 3rd base. Something to help out. The Disruptors on the front line looking for a shot. Not going to find it. Still alive, however, is the good news, but those Colossus, not so much. 3rd Disruptor comes forward to try and get some kills, even misses the Vikings, unfortunately. Dream, with a good enough concave, might just do it. He's losing SCVs on this side of the map as Hurricane used his Zealot Warpings to go offensive instead of defensive. And this got really, really close. A couple of Disruptors on the front lines could have been sniped, and if he's down to like 1 Disruptor with the rest of this army, oh, it's game over. There are tons of Marauders here. He needs the Disruptors to get some good hits. 2 Marauders gone is a decent one. He needs more Zealots to protect himself. As the Disruptors get target fired. Nicely done by Dream. More upgrades being worked on here for Hurricane's Protoss army. Archon's joining the fray as well, and Dream is not going to be able to win with this push. He's going to be forced to evacuate. Liberators sieging up to try and hold the position as Hurricane wants to initiate a counterattack. Not going to be possible. Dream was reinforcing. He finally cleaned up those Zealots thanks to those Liberators, but down to 35 SCVs. No chance for a 4th CC anytime soon. That was a lot of damage. He thought he could make it work. And if he had been able to snipe those disruptors quicker, then it might have. But now Hurricane has disruptors and a sizable army on the ground. The gateway unit's looking quite powerful with the +2 attack. Disruptors getting some decent shots. The Liberators, the strongest thing Dream has, need to be in proper positioning at all times. Need to be protected at all times. They're the only thing he has really to continue this push. Otherwise, he's going to have to give up and go home to a fractured economy with no 4th base and still not replacing the SCVs. This Warp Prism is going to seal the deal, actually. Dream probably going to all in with this army as the SCVs get killed and then tap out. That's what I see happening here. I actually might have enough reinforcements to deal with this, but Hurricane, whether he did a lot of damage to the SCVs or not, and he does still get quite a few as they're pulled into the Zealots, he is taking the time to rebuild his army. Liberators move forward, and there are 5 Liberators. That's a decent amount. They're going to get great shots on the Archons. And the ground army of Dream is being microed very appropriately, but here comes some Colossus. Colossus very helpful against these Liberator numbers. They can actually reach into the bio and kill them, and once the bio's been taken out a little bit, piece by piece, then the Liberators can't hold on their own, not unless you have like 8 of them. GG. Hurricane got into the main base with the Warp Prism, and Dream realized he was going nowhere. He wasn't getting anywhere. He wasn't killing the army, he wasn't killing the 4th base, he was on top of production. He had run out of steam.